Hello, my name's Mrs McGowan and I'm one of the Year 6 teachers. Myself and my colleague, Miss Emma Stanley, are going to narrate this PowerPoint for the Year 5 parents to explain to you what Manor Adventure is all about and to show you where your children are going to stay, what they're going to do and what the commitment is for your child. So I'll go through each slide as we go along. So what are the reasons that we take your children to Manor Adventure? Well, one of the reasons is because it's an education outside of the classroom. It helps to develop the inner confidence of the children, and it helps to help them to feel a sense of personal achievement. It also helps to develop self-esteem as well, and also social skills. While we're at Manor Adventure, the children have to work as teams. They probably will have to be in groups with other children that maybe they've not worked with before. They might be in other dormitories and with other children that they've not been before. So all this helps to develop their social skills. It also gives them an opportunity to develop their team building skills, because a lot of the activities at Manor Adventure rely on children either working as a partner or working as a team. The children also have totally new experiences that maybe they've never done before, like kayaking or being on a BMX bike or doing some fencing. And it also helps the children to learn to respect others, which include other children from other schools. It includes all the adults, and it also includes helping them to interact with other adults that they've never met before, like the instructors. And of course, the other reason is because it's great fun. This is an image of Manor Adventure. It was obviously, it was an old manor house, which has now been turned into a residential centre for school children. The manor house inside has all the accommodation for some of the instructors. It has the accommodation for some schools. We're not in the manor house. We're in a separate part called the Mews, which I'll show you in a minute. And also the dining room is there. That's where we go for our meals each day. The first aid room's there. The offices are there as well. And as you can see from this picture as well, beautiful landscape. So where is Manor Adventure? Well, Manor Adventure, we go through Bridgenorth to get to Manor Adventure. It's on the way to Craven Arms. It takes us about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 to get there, so it's not a journey that's too bad really, but it's right out in the middle of the country. This is a plan of Manor Adventure itself, which is quite wide sweeping, as you can see. The Mews, which is right in the centre, is where we have our accommodation. On the top left, you can see the manor house that you've just seen in the original side. You can see where the reception is. There is also a swimming pool at Manor Adventure, which is an outdoor pool, but they shut the pool after the summer holidays, so unfortunately that's never open when we can go there. All the activities are held within this plan that you see here, so you can see where the children do the Jacob's Ladders, for example, the blind trail, where they do a crate stacking activity. And down at the bottom of the screen, the arrow shows you the direction of where we take the children canoeing and kayaking. A farmer allows Manor Adventure to use one of his ponds that Manor Adventure maintain, and there they have lots of canoes and kayaks and buoyancy aids for all the children. That is one of the activities that we absolutely love doing, because the children really enjoy that, and it's possibly a skill that they've never done before. This is a picture of the Mews. So it was the stables. What you're looking at there is a courtyard, and for all four sides there is accommodation. And we love taking the children there. We love having our school there because it means we've got this lovely courtyard where the children can mingle. They've got the picnic benches there. We can play a few games there. We can all see each other. In front of you, you've got, with the room where you've got the small windows open, that's one of the dormitories that the children are in. The dormitory sizes vary. Some dormitories you can have 12 children in. Other dormitories you could just have 5 or 6 children in. So the dormitories sizes vary. The adults stay in the little cottage which is on one side of this courtyard, so the children can easily get to us if they need to, day or night, and it allows us obviously to be separate from the children but also to be able to keep an eye on them. At the start of each day, the instructors make themselves ready in an area like this, and the children each day know which activity they are going to do, and they also know what clothes that they need to wear and what equipment they might need to take. And this is just an example of one assembly point where all the children gather with their instructor, and once the instructors have checked the children's equipment and checked the children's clothing and footwear, checked that they're not wearing earrings or watches, then the instructor will then move from there with another instructor and a teacher sometimes, and they will go to their area where they're going to do their activity. So why do we choose Manor Adventure? Well, Manor Adventure, as you've seen from the maps and the plans and the photographs, it really is a very secure location. If anybody comes to Manor Adventure, any visitors, they have to go straight to the office to register at the office. So the office know all the people that are on site at any one time. If anybody leaves the site, you have to let the office know as well. It's a very secure location, it's a very enclosed location, it's properly fenced off, and your children are very safe there. The instructors are absolutely wonderful. They are generally young people who have a specific skill for a specific activity, like kayaking or canoeing or climbing. All instructors are first aid trained. They all have walkie-talkies so that they can communicate with each other or the office if they need to. Each time we go on an activity, there's a minimum of 2 instructors that come with us, and the children really enjoy being with the instructors because they're nice and young. So throughout the week, we select 19 activities for your children to do. There's a range of activities. We've tried lots and lots of activities in the past, and in a minute I'm going to show you an example of some of the activities that we. So here are the list of some of the activities that we can take. So as you can see, there are a very wide variety of different activities. Some of them your children might have done before, some of them they might not have ever done before, and this is where the experience comes in and the challenges come in. I would just draw you to a couple of the activities. One of them is the kayaking and the canoeing, which I've spoken about. The pond that we use is a very safe pond. All the usual safety regulations are in place at this pond. The instructors as well get into a kayak or a canoe, and they are out on the water alongside your children. Your children are instructed in how to be safe and how to wear their buoyancy aid. The teachers are on the side of the pool watching and taking photographs. But if your child can swim, that's great. But if your child can't swim or they're not a confident swimmer, that is not a problem. Manor Adventure ensure that all the children can take part in the activities that we choose. We let the instructors know which children maybe can't swim or maybe are a little bit worried about being in the water. The pool is not very deep at all. It looks deep, but it absolutely isn't very deep at all. We've never had anybody fall in. which is great. They do play games on the kayaks, etc., and on the canoes, and they have absolutely great fun. And all children are really safe. We will ask you to, if you decide for that your child would like to come, we would ask you that on one of the forms to let us know if your child is a confident swimmer, or maybe an unconfident swimmer or a non-swimmer. But even if they are not a confident or a non-swimmer, this doesn't exempt them from going on to the canoeing or kayaking, because they can still do it. The other activity is a BMX. Now, your child will need to be able to ride a bike. We don't choose this activity, and the instructors are not there to teach your child how to ride a bike. The instructors expect your children to be able to ride a bike, to be able to take part in this activity. So we do encourage you, before we go and in the summer, to give your children lots and lots of practice riding a bike, and so that they are safe and they know how to ride a bike as well. They do have, everybody has helmets, and it is a really good activity. This is an example of the activities that we do on one of the days that we're there. So as you can see, there are 5 groups. So the children are split up generally into 5 groups, and they stay in that group for the whole of the week. So at the start of the day, the children then look at what activities that they've got to do. They then have to know where they've got to go and meet their instructors, and also the kind of clothes and footwear that they're going to need. And all this is up on a poster inside their dormitory. So as you can see, group 1 on that Wednesday, they did double fencing. Then we go to lunch, and after lunch, then they ride the BMX bikes over the course. Then they have a break, they have a juice break, they go back, and this one is the blind trail. So right before lunch, there is the blind trail. Then they have dinner, They have dinner, and after dinner, they did that last activity. So those activities start about 9 o'clock. And they go on till about 7:30. So your children are fully occupied and absolutely exhausted by the end of the day. The next few slides are photographs at Manor Adventure, and we put these slides together to show you the types of activities and how the instructors interact with your child. This one is archery. This is the fencing, so the children are given the correct equipment. They have the correct jackets, they all have the gloves, they have the visor, and they have a sword which has a blunt end, not a sharp end, but a blunt end, and they're given instruction on how to fence. I think this one speaks for itself if you look at the children's faces. So this activity is a great activity. Manor Adventure have created this tunnel, and the children are given a helmet with a torch on, a head torch, and they're led by one of the instructors through these very dark tunnels. As you can see, this boy here, they're wearing Wellingtons because it's rain, so it does get a little bit watery in this tunnel. But right above that boy's head is the ground, so the tunnels aren't very big at all. The adults that go in it really do have to crouch down. The children get very excited once they pop up into the sunshine. And on this last slide, this is a map reading activity. So these are different activities from the ones that you have seen before. There are camp craft activities that we can get the children to do. There's also den building that we can get the children to do as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Miss Stanley and I'm the other Year 6 teacher. I'm going to pick up the second half of this PowerPoint, and I'm going to start with the health and safety and just reiterate some of the things that Mrs. McGowan has previously mentioned. So Manor Adventure is regularly inspected by health and safety executives, and they are an approved centre status, and that's another reason why we choose to go to Manor Adventure. Each activity is risk assessed. Mrs. McGowan has just been through those activities, and each activity has had a full risk assessment. The equipment is adequate for those activities as well, helmets, etc. There's a 4x4 rescue vehicle on site should we need it, and there's radio communication between teachers and staff, and all of the instructors communicate throughout the day with each other via radio as well. As you know, our school rules are to be ready, to be safe and to be respectful, and we would expect the children when they are off site to adhere to these rules as well. So how do they show that they're being respectful? They really do need to listen to the instructions that are given to them from all of the adults, particularly the instructors who are carrying out the activities. They need to keep their dormitories tidy and make sure they keep the site tidy. They need to stay in their own dormitories as well. We do not allow children to visit each other's dormitories. They will have social time between activities and between that time after lunch and dinner, but we encourage them to socialise outside. We don't allow them into each other's dormitories. They need to keep the noise to a minimum and be quiet after the lights are out. They have a full day of activities that go on past dinner time. So they have their final activity finishes at around 7 to 7:30. So they need to make sure they're getting a good night's sleep. The instructors also live in some of the rooms that are above some of the dormitories. So they really do need to make sure they're being respectful. They need to be ready by showing that they're punctual, being on time for their activities and making sure they are properly dressed. So as Mrs. McGowan has already shared, the children have their own timetable and we keep a copy of that in our cottage in the window, and they will come and look at what activities they have. They have posters in their dormitories that show them what they need to wear for each activity. And then be safe. And this is a really important one. So they need to behave appropriately and make sure they're listening to the instructors at all times. Following on from this, keeping children safe is our primary concern. And when the children are undertaking these activities, it is really important that they are keeping safe, keeping themselves and others safe. Now, if children do behave inappropriately and they are behaving in an unsafe way, the instructors will remove the child from the activity. They will be taken to the teacher. Sometimes it will be sitting outside of the activity and watching the other children. Sometimes it will be asking the teacher to take them back to the dormitories. We, in that case, would call home and ask you to speak to your child to discuss their behaviour with them. If we notice that this is happening regularly, if there's more than one incident and a child is repeatedly not listening to instructions, repeatedly being unsafe, we may call you and ask you to come and collect your child from Manor Adventure. We do ask the children to sign a code of conduct prior to attending, and we ask you as parents to sign this agreement as well. While we're at Manor Adventure, there is plenty of food to eat. The children have access to full English breakfast, cereal, toast, fruit and yoghurt every morning. Lunch and dinner is always a hot meal, and they have a choice of cold salads as well. There's plenty of choice, and any children with special dietary requirements are catered for. Vegetarians, vegans, halal meat is always identified on the menu as well. You will soon be provided with a kit list for Manor Adventure, and it is really important that a child has all of the clothing and footwear that is listed on that equipment list. They will need all of it. And all of their clothing and footwear must be named. Sometimes we have to share a drying room with other schools, in which case all of the children put their wet clothes in the drying room. So it is really important that all of their clothes are labelled. And as silly as this sounds, even socks, because we usually have a pile of clothing at the end of Manor Adventure that is unnamed, that is unclaimed, and often these are new items of clothing as well. So it is a real shame. So please do make sure that all of their clothing is named. They also need a water bottle that again is named. They will be using that every day. They must not bring any electronic devices. That includes mobile phones, smartwatches as well. They're not allowed any of those. They must not bring snacks and sweets or extra drinks. They will be well fed, so they don't need all of these. If we do find any, they will be confiscated. They're not allowed to eat in their dormitories. Children cannot wear earrings at all. So if your child is getting their ears pierced in the summer, that really does need to be at the beginning of the summer holiday. They will not be allowed to cover up earrings or to wear those earrings that keep the holes open. They're not allowed to wear any of them. It's no earrings at all. So we ask the girls not to wear earrings at all for Manor Adventure. Fitbits are also not allowed. Children may want to wear a watch, but for most of the activities they will be asked to remove it, so it's probably best if they don't bring a watch either. If a child is wearing religious bracelets, they must cover it with a sweatband, so it is a good idea to have at least one sweatband and possibly a spare in case the other one gets wet. Some optional things that children may wish to bring are a disposable camera. We only accept disposable cameras. Please do ensure that it has batteries in it. We don't allow cameras in the dormitories for safeguarding reasons, but they are welcome to take their cameras with them on their activities or during their social time outside of their dormitories. So we collect all of the cameras in, so please make sure they're named, and we keep them in a box, and then we distribute them to the children as they leave for their activities. We collect them back in before they go back into their dormitories. Some children like to bring playing cards with them, top trumps cards. Some children bring little travel board games, dominoes, quite often pen and paper, colouring book, just something that they can do in their social time in their dormitories. Obviously, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, but if it is a rainy day and the activities are cancelled, it gives them something to do. Now, we appreciate that for some of you, this is the first time that your child has been away from home, and they might feel a little bit wobbly about it. However, we don't allow children to contact their parents during the trip. The reason for this is we need them to get used to being on their own. They're going to be there for the 5 days. Sometimes speaking to parents can make it worse. They can feel a little bit more homesick. So we do try and support them as best we can without calling home. Generally, the children are very good with each other and they all help each other if they're feeling a little bit homesick. Obviously, if we did have a child who was really in distress, we would make allowances for that. Teachers contact school via the school office, so it is really important that that line of communication is kept free, especially on the day that we travel to Manor and the day that we come back. Please do not call the office. We have in previous years had the phone lines jammed up with parents calling asking if we've arrived or what time we're due back, and it just means that Mrs. McGowan and I cannot get through to the office, and that's really important that we're able to do that. Anything that needs to be communicated with you will be done via parent pay, so if we have anything to share with you, we will let the office know and they will contact you straight away. If you want to see what your children are up to, please do consider following the school Twitter account. You can see the handle on the screen there. I tend to post photographs every day, so sometimes that will be in the evening. I tend to try and do some in the afternoon as well if I'm able to, so that you can see what your children are doing. Do check your photo permissions. Every child has been set up with photo permissions, so you will have signed a form letting us know what your child is allowed to be, whether your child is allowed to be photographed and where that might be. So do make sure that you have checked your permissions if you want your child to appear on Twitter. Obviously, if you do not want that, we will adhere to that. So if you do make sure you check with the school office before we go. It's not really good to make that clear to us while we're already away. You need to check those permissions before we go. When the children stay in dormitories, the dormitories are all different sizes, so some are larger and some are smaller. Children do not choose who they go into dormitories with. We will try as best we can to ensure they have at least one friend with them, but we can't guarantee this. And the reason for that is because dormitories are all different sizes. The purpose of the trip is for children to get to know each other, which is why we mix both classes. So it shouldn't matter too much if they are with people that they perhaps don't socialise with normally, because the purpose of the trip is for us to really get to know each other. We do keep boys and girls separate, so we have allocated dorms for boys and allocated dorms for girls. And finally, just to finish off, do enjoy the break. Your children are in good hands. They're with very qualified instructors. There are lots of adults, teaching staff coming on the trip. Mr. Morrissey will be there for 2 days, and our new deputy, Miss Young, will also be there for 2 days. So there's always a senior member of staff on site as well. So do make sure that you take the time to relax and enjoy yourselves. And the children always love to have a big hug when they come home. They will have plenty to tell you, and they'll be very tired. So big smiling faces when they come off the coach is always welcomed. You will receive some further contact from us with a little bit more information about Manor. There will be the kit list. You will also get medical forms. It is vital that these are filled in correctly. Please do not leave anything blank because Manor just return them, and then we have to ask you to fill them in again. Some of the things you're asked for are your child's NHS number. You're also asked about how up to date they are with their vaccines. So some of these things you may need to find out from your GP. So do make sure that you fill in everything on the form as it says. And we really do look forward to September, to meeting your children, to having them in our classes, and also to enjoy this lovely trip with them. Thank you.